No matter who you are, once upon a time, you looked like this. From a single cell, you built a body that has 100 trillion cells. You made hundreds of different kinds of tissues and dozens of organs, including a brain that allows you to do remarkable things. How did you do it? Today, we can look closer than ever before into the womb, into a cell, into the essence of life itself. Not only can we see what's happening, but now we're beginning to see how it happens. The forces that build the embryo, the molecules that drive this remarkable change. We're uncovering the most intimate details of how life is created. The secrets behind life's greatest miracle. DNA, the molecule that carries our genes, the chemical instructions for building our bodies and keeping us alive, all wrapped up in a tiny, winding staircase. DNA has run the show for more than 4 billion years for one main reason. It's very good at making copies of itself. The copies can get passed to a new generation in a couple of ways. In almost every cell of your body, you have 30,000 or more different genes, spread out on very long strands of DNA, called chromosomes. Most cells have 2 versions of every gene on a total of 46 chromosomes. Exactly half of those, 23, came from your mom, and 23 came from your dad. They come in pairs, where the partners are very similar but not quite the same. The only time they get together is during meiosis. Here's how it works inside a testicle that's making sperm. First, each chromosome makes an exact copy of itself, keeping it attached at one point. They condense, creating an X shape. Now the chromosome partners get together, and the 2, or actually 4, will embrace. They cling so closely, big chunks carrying whole bunches of genes get exchanged between the partners. The cell then divides twice, each time pulling the pairs apart. The final result is a sperm, or an egg cell, with 23 chromosomes, half the normal number. By itself, the cell is incomplete, but it still holds incredible promise, because every chromosome now carries a combination of genes that has never existed before. As the days pass, changes proceed at a rapid-fire pace throughout the embryo. Everywhere, cells are multiplying, and they're on the move. Some reach out to one another, forming blood vessels. A heart begins to beat. Groups of cells bulge out on the sides, the beginnings of arms and legs. How does the embryo transform itself from a blob of cells into different tissues and organs, and finally into a fully functional baby? The secret, of course, lies in your genes, in your DNA. Inside most every cell in your body, you have the same 46 chromosomes carrying the same genes. But not all the cells in your body are the same. Nerve cells, blood cells, cells lining your intestine, they all look different and they do different jobs. That's because in each of these cells, different groups of genes are turned on. And when a gene is turned on, it tells the cell to construct a particular protein. Proteins are the molecules that build your body. Like collagen, a fiber that makes up much of your skin, tendons, and bones. Or keratin in your hair. Crystalline is the protein that helps make the lens of your eye clear. Some proteins do work. Actin and myosin move muscle fibers. Hemoglobin in the blood carries oxygen from the lungs to the rest of the body. So when the embryo is developing, how does a cell turn on the right set of genes and create the right proteins? Part of the answer seems to be location. Once the basic body plan is established, with the head on one end, back and front, and left and right sides, cells seem to know exactly where they are and what they are supposed to become. This is because cells talk to each other in the form of chemical messages. Chemicals in one cell can trigger a reaction in the cell next door that can spread to the cell's nucleus and turn genes on or off. But what's really going on in there? How does a gene get turned on? If all the DNA in a single cell were stretched out, it would be about 6 feet long, but it's all wound up very tightly, coiled around balls of protein. For a gene to be turned on, something has to come in and loosen up the right section. Then the cell's machinery can latch on and read the DNA, the first step on the long road to building a protein. Those molecules that can turn genes on play a key role in every aspect of development, including the process that transforms the embryo into a boy or a girl. This is the power of genes, creating cascades of chemical reactions, defining the form and function of all the cells in your body. Sometimes genes send the message to multiply and grow, as with the arm and leg buds. Sometimes the message is to die, as it is a few days later to the cells between the fingers. As the weeks pass, the embryo's genes send billions of individual messages, constructing new kinds of cells and building organs and limbs. Two months after fertilization, the embryo is now called a fetus. Almost all its organs are in place, though they're not working yet. The whole fetus is just over an inch long and weighs less than 1/3 of an ounce. Over the next 6.5 months, it will grow almost 400 times larger and prepare for birth. All of this demands a constant supply of nutrients. Without ever mixing the blood of mother and child, the villi grab oxygen and nutrients. The enriched blood flows about 1.5 feet through the umbilical cord back to the fetus, whose heart beats about twice as fast as an adult's. The heart is one of the few organs that actually work during the earliest weeks of development. And lens are well formed by the 9th week, the fetus doesn't respond to light until the 5th or 6th month. And the same for the ear. The outer ear quickly takes shape, but the fetus can't hear yet. Sound conduction relies on the tiny bones of the inner ear, and most of the bones in the fetus start out as cartilage. By the 4th month, hard bone can be seen forming in the hand and the leg. Finally, after 5 months, the process is complete in the inner ear. And then the fetus begins to hear sound.
I would
All the organ systems are in place, so during the last trimester, the fetus's main job is to grow. But a few crucial events are unfolding beneath the skin. Fat deposits are forming, building reserves the baby will rely on after birth. But even more importantly, fat is getting laid down in the brain. In the 6th month, genes in the brain order the manufacture of a fatty substance called myelin, which wraps around the long connections between brain cells. This fatty covering allows nerve impulses to travel up to 100 times faster, greatly enhancing brain power. The process will continue for years after the baby is born.